Hey, everywhere with Krista's Event Concepts, coming to you with another lunchtime lessons. It is Thursday. I am ready for it to be the weekend. It has been a really busy week thus far, but I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. So, a lot of times with events, people don't necessarily have contingency plans, and I feel like contingency plans are what event planners really specialize in, ensuring that things go exactly the way that they're supposed to with an event. And if any of you are familiar with Murphy's Law, it's anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and it brings you back to okay. Well, for me personally, it brings me back to what can I do to make things better? What can I do to prevent things from happening, because that's really essentially what event planners do. We actually come up with contingency plans along the way because anything could happen and you should have plan A through Z. And coming from and as an alumni of the illustrious Clark Atlanta University, our motto was find a way or make one. So as an event planner, I use that motto every single day. I have to make things work even when it seems like they're not working at all. So today we're going to get into events and we're going to talk about subjects that are a little bit more racy or I won't say crass or anything like that, but it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, I've had some horror stories, and a lot of times people don't know what those stories are because all you see is the finished product. All you see are the five-star reviews, which I am so blessed that over the course of 10 years, I have been able to sustain that five-star review. It's really been amazing because my brand means so much to me. And knowing that my clients, every client that I've ever had, has felt like we have done more than what they've asked for is just wonderful. So just to go through the good, bad, and the ugly really quickly, I can tell you that the good for me is the reward in helping someone to really and truly achieve their vision, seeing it come to life, that sense of accomplishment on their face once they get that big reveal. Because a lot of times with my clients, they don't necessarily know everything that I'm going to do. And that's something that I pride myself on. I like to throw in little surprises. It pulls the control back from them and puts me in control of the event because a lot of times my clients are busy executives, they are working class people, they are doing things, they are busy, and they really don't have the time to put into the special details. And so that's what I specialize in. I specialize in making sure that I bring their vision to life. So generally when we have a consultation, our pre-consultations are done by our special events coordinator, excuse me, Jasmine, and she generally does the consultation where she finds out what is the vision, what do you want to see happen, and then we also want to look at what the budget looks like because that's huge as well, right? So I would say the good is bringing that vision together. That is what is satisfying for me. It's the reward. Our tagline is making your event sing a memorable lullaby. I want it to be a memory that can last forever. I have a few clients who are now deceased, and that's why I've always wanted to specialize in milestone birthday celebrations. I found coming out the gate that it brought me the most joy because hitting any milestone is huge and you want to celebrate it in a big way. Hence why I'm celebrating my 10 years in business because this is huge. Someone had said to me recently, most businesses don't go past 3 years, you know, and the fact that I was able to go through the hardships of event planning and of the industry and being a business owner and trying to do it all by myself. Of course, you have the help of your network and great mentors and people around you, but essentially you're doing everything yourself. So being able to overcome that is why this 10 years is so important. And I've made such a big deal out of this decade in business because it is a lot and it has its ugly moments. It has its hard moments. but I love doing milestone birthday celebrations because these are memories that can last a lifetime. You will always have those images. You will always have that moment when that person felt most special. And of course, we do birthdays over at Krista's Birthday Concepts. You can actually go to that website, www.kbdayk.com. And our Instagram is kbirthdayk. So you can check out all of our birthdays that we've done. We have done from a 95-year-old birthday to a 29th. I think 29th was like the youngest birthday that we've done, but 21 and up is what we specialize in. We've done a few like 2-year-old birthdays here, and the others younger birthdays, but for the most part, we do milestone birthday celebrations for the mature crowd. So again, that brings me back to the bad of event planning. The bad to me, the psychology of being an event planner. And I say that you have to be someone's counselor, confidant, secretary, um, and pretty much their family throughout the entire process of doing their event. You are really close with your client throughout the entire process. Um, when they have people in their ears saying things that may not necessarily be positive, you're the one keeping them in the know and keeping them feeling good about the event that you're doing for them. And that can be, taxing. It's just a part of the business, but you want to make sure that your client is happy. So at the end of the day, you do it. And then some of the other bads is, I don't know if you guys have experienced it. Some of you event planners out there, or some of you in other industries have experienced it. When you hire a vendor that is not up to par, that is the bad, because you're thinking, because you represent your brand well, you're hoping that they're representing their brand just as well, if not better, and it doesn't always pan out that way. I have been very blessed. I will say 99% of all the vendors that I have had have been absolutely perfect and up to par, period. They show up early, they do the job that needs to be done. I make sure that I pay them. I also work things on the back end so that they can get a tip, because that is important to me, that they know that they are valued as a vendor, because not only are they representing their company, they're representing Krista's Event Concepts. So that's really important to me. So sometimes, and like I said, that 1% of the time that has been my experience, um, with vendors, or even a venue. You have a venue that you booked and you're really excited about it, and then you show up and things are not done that you already sent to them that you want it to be done. That can be extremely frustrating when you're coming to execute something and nothing's done that the venue promised and said that they would do. So, that can be the bad. So I would say that the ugly, the ugly, um, if the client doubts sometimes, we build so much rapport with our clients. It's really important for us to make sure that each client feels like they've hired the best person to do the job. And a lot of times, they have insurmountable stress on them that's unnecessary, that comes from other people. Other people are saying, well, how much is she charging you for this? Or how much are they charging for that? Why? Well, we could do it for this price. Well, the we could doers, those are the people that can go to your local party store and put together something. But when you come to Krista's Event Concepts, you're going to get the quality and the customer service, as well as things are going to be handcrafted, and the hours of time that goes into it, you're not charged for. You're charged for the value that we bring. It's valuable to you. So I always say, for me, I work hard and tirelessly on every single event. It's in my mind. I'm sleeping with the event. I'm thinking about it when I wake up in the morning. Throughout the day, I'm coming up with more ideas. I'm bringing more life into the event as the process goes. So the ugly can be just sometimes the client will doubt things right before the event, and you're like, okay, didn't we talk about this? Didn't we put this in the agreement? Isn't this what we discussed already? What's the problem now? that it's a few days before your event. You've paid thousands of dollars. We're in execution phase, so you get that and you get the back and forth with the business side of things. And that can be the ugly side. So I've kind of shared the good, the bad, the ugly. Now let me get into some of the horror stories. Let me give you some of the real of what happens with event planning. So a lot of I mainly do wedding coordination. That is what I do as far as weddings are concerned. I do several other types of events, several other social gatherings, corporate events, now doing public events, but I do wedding coordination. Day of, I will help you find vendors prior to and things like that. But the full course wedding planning, I like to leave that to the wedding planners because there are some amazing wedding planners out there where that's what they do. That is their niche. And they've gone to school specifically for wedding planning. Okay. It's not my favorite thing. It is my least favorite type of event, to be honest with you, is wedding planning. Wedding coordination, I am good with, but wedding planning can be a lot. Here's the first horror story. So, I remember because this was one of my first full service weddings. I had done wedding coordination and had done a little help here and there on different weddings with other industry people that planned weddings, but this one was my first full service wedding, from the design to the floor plan to the timeline itinerary to the invitations that I assisted her in creating. We had numerous meetings at Starbucks, Panera Bread. We were like on it all the time, going to meet up with my floor vendor at the time, Flower Theory. Oh my goodness, her name is Holly, her name was escaping me. Holly with Flower Theory. She was based in Atlanta, had her own floral shop, and now is in Chicago. No, she's in Ohio now. Sorry. She went to Chicago and then left there and went to Ohio. She was our preferred floral vendor. So we had meetings with the bride there. We did cake tastings with one of the huge wedding cake vendors out there. That name escapes me too, because again, as far as weddings, I try to stay away from those when I can, but I do have those vendors here and throughout. But a few days before my client's wedding, she sends me a text message and she's worried about her flowers. And I'm thinking to myself, we went to the floral shop. She matched up the colors perfectly. That color palette was perfect. And she promised that she was going to dye your flowers the exact same color and feed in some silk fabric in with your bouquet. What is the problem? I was so confused because here it is a couple of nights before the wedding, which was going to be huge. She had so many people coming in from out of town. It was scheduled to be at the Galleria in Cobb County. So it was a really large wedding, because if you've seen those rooms in Galleria, they usually have like trade shows and things like that there. And we used two rooms, one for the ceremony and one for the actual reception. And it was an amazing, incredible turnout. Of course, we got a 5-star review, but it was just the process of her just scared and nervous about her bridal bouquets, like from her bouquet to the bridesmaid's bouquet. And I thought to myself, my goodness, right before the wedding, this is what I'm dealing with. So that's why I said I go back to the bad of being being an event planner. I say is being pretty much their psychiatrist. That's why I say the psychology of being an event planner, being their confidant. And when their mom is complaining about something, or their dad is complaining about something, or the husband to be wants to be a groomzilla, so to speak, you have to deal with all that and manage all of those personalities. So that can sometimes not be the fun part um with event planning. It's just the reality of it. And I know so many of those who are in the events industry, they understand it. I know my photographers, they get it, with the importance of those images for weddings. It's huge. The importance of images anyway, it's huge. And the stress that you get, that you pull off of those clients, It's huge. So that's a horror story that I can say because I'm like, I can't believe she's worried about her flowers a few days before the wedding. Are you serious? Like, that is the least that is so far from my brain because I trust that vendor. I hired someone who is phenomenal at what they do and their brand speaks for itself. I did research on this person before I even brought them to my client so that that stress would not be on me. But because I am that event planner, that wedding planner for that function, it all comes back to me regardless. So you are managing the client's personality, your vendor's personalities. It can be a lot, but when you know what you're doing, you're able to overcome all of that. And it got to a point where I had to figure out how can I overcome all of these insurmountable things that are happening, because you do get stressed, but you can't show it. You can't, you have to be focused when it's time for execution. So that's just one example of a horror story. The other thing I mentioned before in my bad to ugly things was the venue. Sometimes you show up. I remember, and I have two examples. I remember going to an event that was done by my mentor, and me and the photographer at the time, we were going just to kind of support her because we knew she was in town. So we said, you know what, we're gonna go to this event and just be there to support her. Now, we knew she was about to do a really important training session, and we kind of just wanted to sit in on the training session and just support her class. So I think she had maybe a class of about 10 people, and she walked in. And we got there early because we wanted to have like girl chat and just kind of talk about events and just talk about what we love in the industry. And when we got there early. She was like, this can't be the room because she was mortified, you guys. She was like, this cannot be the room that I'm supposed to have my class in. Now, if you know my mentor, Helena Paschal, you know she is a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist as well. So I expect certain things. When you show up to a venue and it's minutes before your class is to begin and the tables are dirty, there's food in there, you're looking around like, how are we going to have an event here? How are we going to have a class here? How are we going to do anything here when the tables aren't set up properly? It's dirty stuff everywhere. And you know what me and the photographer and her and all of us did at the same time? First of all, Helena got on social media and she was like, look at how dirty this is. And you guys, it's so funny. I love that video. I go back to it all the time because I remember the emotion that day. And I just remember it was a mess. But you know what we did? Because this is what you do as planners. The photographer is also a certified event planner and was in the same class as me and graduated with me. We all rolled up our sleeves. We were like, this is what we do. And you know what we did? We cleaned the place as much as we could. We contacted the hotel and said, hey, this is unacceptable. They got someone in there to take out trash, remove the dirty plates, but we got in there and we just rolled up our sleeves and got the room ready. About 10 minutes later, people started arriving to the class, but they wouldn't have ever known how terrible that was a few minutes before. It was a mess. And we couldn't believe it because her name was on the door. Her name was, this is her class, this is where it'll be, and that would not have been welcoming at all, so that's another horror story. And I'm not the type to get on social media immediately, but I love that my mentor did that because it goes to show you when you're a venue, and this was a hotel, a really nice hotel downtown, this is not how you do things. This is not how and this is how you get bad reviews when your reputation does not precede you well. So that's another example, like I said, of a horror story. Recently, I did an event and I had talked up this venue. I was super excited about this venue. I loved it because it was a blank canvas. And I usually go on social media and try to post the venues that I have because I want people to see how incredible and how amazing some of these venues around Atlanta are in the outer skirts of Atlanta, not just downtown, midtown, Buckhead. It's beautiful in Austell, in Douglasville, in Sandy Springs, Roswell. Like it's beautiful everywhere, not just in certain pockets of Atlanta. So usually when I have a venue that I'm looking at or excited about, I usually do a video and I post, hey, here's a new venue that we're going to use. I'm super excited about it. Recently, I had an event and I was so disappointed because when I got there, they were supposed to already have the chairs and tables set up, not necessarily in the positioning that my floor plan state, but they needed to have the actual tables with the tablecloths on them, and the chairs set up. When me and my special events coordinator arrived, because it's usually the two of us unless we have an event of 100 people or more, we usually try to have additional staff, and I make sure to bring on other team members. But in this case, which I was so frustrated about, it was just me and her. So you got two ladies at an event that's supposed to start within, I guess, an hour or so, because they don't give you enough wiggle room at venues. They don't give you like a good amount of time for setup. They just don't. So I remember going into this venue and I'm like, I can't believe nothing set up. I was just, they were like, oh, well, we didn't know where you wanted your tables and chairs. Are you serious? I asked you guys to just make sure that they were already set up. So all we had to do is put the centerpieces out on the tables and, position them the way they needed to be. But you guys didn't even do that. It's two ladies here. We're not lifting tables and lifting chairs. That's not what we do. And I spoke to the venue owners about it because I was like, this is not acceptable. I called right then. But you know what we did? We rolled up our sleeves, we got those tables out, and no one ever knew any of that except for the people, of course, who were involved with the booking process and the planning, because I partnered with another company. So those are things that I consider as horror stories for event planners, because that puts even more pressure on us. And you have to have contingency plans. You have to just be ready to work. There can never be a time where you think, oh, I'm too good for this, I can't do that. Absolutely not. When you are an event planner, this is what you do. You have to just do it, and you have to have those plans in place. But I just made sure that at the end of the event, because we knew we were gonna have to break down all the tables and chairs, I make sure I had some men in place by that time so that we wouldn't have to do that, in addition to pack up inventory, in addition to taking down backdrops and balloons and everything else. So you have to have those things in place, and you just do it. We could sit there and complain about it and wait for someone else to come, or we can handle it right then. So I'm really big on um, making the bad into the good, because things are going to happen. Things outside of your control are always going to be present. You just got to roll up your sleeves and do what you have to do. So the last ugly story that I have is the most recent. This one, I decided to try a new vendor, and they were highly recommended to me by another balloon vendor in the industry who I think does immaculate work. She wasn't available for the date, so she said, well, let you use my assistant. She does an amazing job, just as good as I do. She's the one that you're going to want to, do business with. And I was like, well, great. Send her information to me. So she sent her information. And you guys, I was super excited. I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be great. It's going to be the same value that I received with her. I'm just so excited. And when I tell you, and let me tell you what I asked for first. So I asked for a balloon garland on a sign at the front of the venue. And I can do them, but I tell people all the time, I don't specialize in that. So I usually like to have someone there. The only time I'll do it, or my assistant will do it, because my assistant is really great at doing balloon garlands, is if we have more time in the venue, because it is very intricately detailed to do any type of balloon garland. And I remember saying, okay, well, let me start hiring balloon vendors. And we have a preferred balloon vendor now, that is fantastic, phenomenal, amazing. They're the only people who do my balloon garlands now. But at the time, I was kind of using different balloon vendors because I wanted to make sure that I was able to get what I needed, from each vendor. And when you're in that crunch time, like I was mentioning before with venues, you don't have enough time to do it yourself, in addition to making sure all centerpieces are correct, in addition to managing the vendors as they come in. So I started hiring one. So again, I was so excited. I had asked for balloon garland on the sign, a balloon garland on the backdrop that was going to go behind the dessert table. And then I said, well, you know what? Since she's doing this, let me also ask her to do some mosaic letters. She said, absolutely, I can do it. No problem. You guys, I would love to show you. Now, you guys are going to be able to see this when you go back and look at it later on Zoom, because I am showing it now. I'm sharing my screen and showing it so you can see. But what I asked for were these beautiful mosaic letters, and I'm going to show you guys on IG in just a second. And I end up getting 70 because it was a 70th birthday, a 70 that was not the same size. It was the balloons weren't the same size, the colors were incorrect, and when I tell you, it took everything in me not to show it. And this was a part of the event that was going to be a surprise element for the client. That was the biggest part for me. I'm really big on making sure that my clients have something that's a surprise. So for you guys on Instagram, let me see if you can see. Oh, let me see. I don't think it's showing up very well. So you can see the picture. Nope, not working. Okay, so you guys are gonna have to just look on YouTube later. But basically, it was mosaic letters, and I sent her a 21 because I was like, if you can do this in a 70, it'll be perfect. It'll be beautiful. It'll be that element, and then they can take them home later and just kind of keep them in their home to celebrate this amazing birthday celebration. The balloons again were awful. The mosaic letters were awful. The balloons didn't even match the color scheme that I sent her. I sent her an actual palette, several palettes, so she could compare and contrast because sometimes cardstock or construction paper is a different color from like fabric. So I sent her both the fabric as well as the cardstock. Completely and totally unprofessional. And I kind of saw it in the beginning, but because she was referred to me, I figured, oh, it probably won't be a huge issue. It was a huge issue. And in this case, there was no contingency plan. You had to go with what was. And of course, afterwards, I spoke to the vendor that referred her to me. I also spoke to her, and she ended up having to refund a certain amount of that money. And the blessing in that is that my client had no idea. So this is when I say you have to be really, really good at what you do. I remember at that event, she ended up leaving out the back door. She didn't tell me she was leaving. All of my vendors, excuse me, from the very beginning have always told me when they're about to leave. Hey, listen, we finished up everything. Do you need anything else before we go? That is just what you do. It's common courtesy to the client, to the customer, right? They're like, hey, we just want to make sure you're good. And usually I say, yeah, you guys are good. Thank you. Have a good day. I appreciate you so much. And I go on. In this case, she went out the back door. She brought someone who wasn't there to help her. You think that when you come with someone, they would be your assistant. That person wasn't there to help her. They were just kind of there. And then on top of that, she didn't bring the service, the level of service that I'm used to, and was very disrespectful when I brought it to her attention. I needed a day or so to kind of just calm down from the frustration of that. Now, again, my clients didn't see it, and you don't see it in the photos, but I had to go in and edit all the pictures. But the people who were there saw how bad that looked. Even my assistants came to me and they were like, she just should have just left it off if she was going to do such a poor job. And they literally, because my assistants know me and know the level of service that I bring, they literally grabbed it and took it off the stage because it looked so bad. And I'm going to make sure that you guys see it. I'm going to do a what I asked for and what I got image so you guys can see it out there. Because when I tell you, it was just very upsetting, but these are the things that as an event planner you go through. These are the horror stories. And again, this is a vendor that I would never use again. I will never speak for a brand. So I'm never going to, tell the world this person's awful. That's not me. I don't really do things like that. But it was an experience that brought me pause, because I'm thinking here I am 10 years in business and I've never had a vendor come with this type of nonchalant, unprofessional bad customer service in my life. And so I had to handle that. And the best part about that particular event, my client is a doctor, and he was just wowed. And he was one of those clients who needed that extra love and attention throughout because he came to me late. But I will tell you guys, I work very well under pressure. I always have. So I told him, I was like, I got this. I've been doing this a long time. I promise you it's going to be perfect. He wanted to be a part of every part of the process. And you guys, when he walked into that venue that day, because I'm real big on everything being done before the client gets there so they can have that big reveal. When he walked in, he said, "This is a wow factor." And I just laughed. I wish I had, my phone to record him, but he was like, this is what I wanted for my mom. And that is, like I said, that's the greatness of event planning, that final reward from that client, of them being happy. So happy, this particular client, the one that I'm talking about where the balloons were terrible, he actually tipped everybody. And I'm not talking about a small tip. I'm talking about a nice big tip. Me, my assistant, gave us some wine. I mean, was so happy. His wife walked up to me and hugged me, and she was just like, "I'm so glad you were able to deal with my husband." So those are the memories that I have that I hold closest and dearest to my heart, because they will always have the memories of doing something incredible for their mom, and just the matriarch in their family, and people were able to celebrate that with them, in a way that was just phenomenal. So I say all that to say to you guys, have event contingency plans, but the best event contingency plan you could possibly have is hiring a professional, period. You can do it yourself. I'm never going to say this because I know one of my closest friends, she plans events so just amazing from beginning to end. And I love her dearly. But she's like, you know what? I've been planning stuff so much. She's like, I would have been an event planner. She was like, but you get burnt out. So she was just like, I'm going to hire somebody. And you get like that. Something I've done, I think, two of her events. But she's just like, sometimes I don't want to do all this planning. I want to sit back and enjoy it. And you really can't do that when you try to plan everything. So your best event contingency plan is to hire a professional, a trained professional, someone who has the credentials. As I mentioned to you guys a million times before, I have my undergraduate degree in marketing, business administration, marketing. I have my master's degree in public relations and communications. And then I also have two degrees, two certification excuse me, two certifications in event planning, as well as event design. So I have two separate certifications, and I had to renew my event planning certification every year until I was an alumni, which I am now. So I'm a certified event planner alumni. I don't have to take any more courses going forward. But of course, as the industry changes, you end up educating yourself on more things and reading more books and just trying to come up with the times. But again, your best event contingency plan is having someone who's a professional that knows exactly what they're talking about, knows what they're doing, can put everything into perspective for you. I also am available for people who just want consulting. I'm doing more consulting now. I have a client on the West Coast that I do more consulting with than anything. And sometimes people just want to know, well, how can I do this? Or if I want an event that's a hybrid event. A hybrid event, you guys, is one that's virtual and one where people are present. So sometimes they just need that, and they need assistance with how to do that and how to do it well. And that's what I'm trained to do. And I'm learning as we go more about hybrid events and other events. But to end today, you guys know that I'm celebrating 10 years in business. This live stream series has been amazing this week. We have one more tomorrow. You guys get a chance to meet my special events coordinator, Jasmine. And I'm just excited about everything. So please, I would love to meet you guys. Come to our Decade Sip Shop. It's going to be on March 26th from 1 to 4. It is a Sunday in Smyrna, Georgia. I will be announcing the venue very soon. I love the place. It is beautiful, immaculate. It's more of a boutique-like place. So when you come and shop, you'll have that whole boutique feel. where you can take photos and have some champagne as well as mimosas while supplies last, of course. And I look forward to having you guys there. So thank you for joining me, all of you who are listening right now. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat on Instagram. But you can watch this later on our YouTube channel. That link is in the bio. The link for the Decade Sip Shop is in the bio. And then tonight, please join us. We will be having our Decade Sip show where we will have another one of our vendors come on and chat with us. So I hope you guys have an amazing day. I hope this was very informative. I hope it helps you in your next decisions with events. And thanks for joining us. No questions, so I'm going to go ahead and log off. Bye.